What's going on YouTube? So this Genesis GV70 has not been out for very long at all, yet it is already making some serious waves. It's received glowing reviews from tons of auto journalists and even won Motor Trend SUV of the Year. We too greatly enjoyed the GV70 when we first sampled it 6 months ago. But is the experience just as sweet over a longer period of time? We've spent the last week with this fully loaded GV70 Sport Prestige to find out. So one of the things that first made a splash in this segment is the way this thing looks. It looks absolutely gorgeous in a lot of different colors, but today we have the Melbourne Gray matte paint on this thing. And let me tell you, this is positively hot. Everybody looks at this thing like you've driven up in something totally exotic, like a Bentley or something. Really gets a lot of attention, and both Mason and I absolutely love it. Now, in terms of the rest of the design, of course, you've got the signature Genesis look, but the GV70 makes things look quite a bit sportier than the GV80. So we do have the dark finish on the grille since we have the sport models. That's going to come on all of those. We also have the very aggressive lower fascia with the gloss black elements, the large vents. Most of these are functional. Over here, this little crack right here is the functional part, but it does look really excellent. Of course, another really signature element that looks nothing like any of the competitors are the quad beam LED headlights that every Genesis model does come with. As you can see, you've got the 4 crystals in the 2 separate housings, the double turn signal indicator and daytime running light right through there. You're not going to find fog lamps on any of the models, but these lights do actually fade in and out, which is a nice touch. Now, continuing the gorgeous design are your wheel options. Of course, not every GV70 is going to have wheels as nice as this. So you start at 18 inches, but when you go up to these Sport Prestige, you get these absolutely stunning 21-inch alloy wheels. That is huge for this segment of vehicle, and I just love the design. It's got these dimples inside of it that really make it stand out from a lot of the wheels that the rivals are offering. Furthermore, we do have a dark finish Genesis branded brake caliper, which looks really nice as well. And as we carry on up, we come to our mirrors, which are fully loaded. That means you have heating, you have auto dimming on both the driver and the passenger side, power folding, blind spot monitoring, and we also have Genesis projection puddle lamps, which put the emblem on the ground at night.
Wow, so we're here at the side of the GV70, and as you can tell, this is a vehicle with some pretty darn good proportions. Now, let's talk about the length first. We're looking at 185.6 inches in overall length, and what I was talking about with the proportions is particularly worth noting because this GV70 is riding on a dedicated rear-wheel drive platform, which is something that can't be said about some of the rivals like the Audi Q5, Lexus NX, as well as the Acura RDX. So that's certainly a benefit, and you get these absolutely gorgeous design elements with that. Now, as far as some other elements, we have some smoked chrome around all of your windows. We have blacked out roof rails, and that smoked chrome does kind of continue down through here and trace into the rear design. And talking about the rear, this is one sexy rear, guys. Oh my gosh, I think this looks better than the GV80, and that's saying something because I really love the way the GV80 looks. It's just such a unique design that we've never really seen before on SUVs before these 2 SUVs came out, and I love it. Throughout the course of the week that we've had this, we've had so many people stop and talk to us about what this car is because it is just so eye-catching. Now, let's break down some of the design elements. I do want to point out that you do have the exposed rear wiper right here that does double for your trunk release as well. And as far as your taillights are concerned, you're going to have Genesis quad beam LED taillights. These are, of course, going to be full LED. As you can see, we have the turn signal as well as the brake light, all LED. You have some LED accenting as well. And I do want to point out this top piece goes all the way across the back. So when you are braking, it goes all the way across, which is a nice touch. Dropping down further below that, we have a very aggressive rear diffuser. This is of course more aggressive than what you would find on the bigger brother GV80. And you have all of this nice elements right here. And you're also gonna notice these big exhaust pipes. Now, every GV70 will have big exhaust pipes. If you go for a non-sport model, it'll be a square exhaust. However, if you go for the sport, you get the integrated circle exhaust that absolutely looks fantastic. Now, Genesis doesn't mess around like some of the German models do by giving you all of the safety systems as standard equipment. So you have forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, auto high beams, as well as adaptive cruise control with their highway drive assist function. And that's going to be on every single GV70, not just this fully loaded model. It's also worth noting for your warranty, you're going to have the best in the business warranty, 5-year 60,000 mile basic warranty, 10-year 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. Additionally, you have 3 years and 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance, and that does also include a pickup and drop-off service. Well guys, this is one sexy SUV on the outside. I absolutely love it. But we have a red interior waiting for you on the inside, and we also have some really cool driving dynamics coming up, so you won't want to go anywhere.
So walking up to this GV70, you will find the brand's typical key fob, and of course you will have standard smart entry as well as remote start. You will also notice on this fob we have a couple extra buttons. These are for your smart parking system, so you can pull into and out of parking spots remotely. That's going to be included on your advanced and prestige models. And as we walk up to the vehicle, it does sense your approach, and it goes ahead and folds the mirrors out. And then of course you just grab behind the handle to unlock the doors. But take a look at this interior. The beautiful design does not end on the exterior and definitely does carry on to the inside. So let's go ahead and get inside and check it out. So one of the really nice things about this GV70 is that it's available in a wide variety of material and color combinations. There's actually so many of them, I don't want to read them all off. So I'll just focus on the ones that are in regard to the 3.5 liter turbo engine models. So on the sport model, that's a leather with a mesh insert for your seat. However, if you get the Sport Advance, that goes to a beautiful quilted Nappa leather. And then if you go to the top model, which is what we have here, that is a Nappa leather, but with a suede insert. As you can see, absolutely a beautiful seat. We do have the red interior, but the seats themselves are black. I personally like that touch because it's not going to stain over time. Plus, I do like this suede is going to really hold you in place, which you'll see is very important on the test drive component. The bolsters themselves are very nice and large as well. And the seats are 16-way power adjusting. So you can adjust these bolsters to hug you in tighter. You can also extend the thigh out, and best of all, you do have power massage on board as well. Oh, and I should mention the color options. I did almost forget. You have the choice between black, beige, red, or blue. So a lot of different really cool choices. Now let's turn on over here to the door trim and start talking about the materials, because they are extremely nice inside of this Genesis. So on the door trim, you have basically leather from the top to the bottom. So it goes all the way across the upper part. Through the middle, we have the red leather, and across the armrest, we have a large piece of genuine carbon fiber trim. And even these lower door pockets are padded plastic, so it's very impressive. You do have 2-person memory seating located right there, and of course 4 fully automatic windows finished in a nice metal. And then in terms of the rest of the cabin, those beautiful materials do continue. So we have a full leather dashboard with the double stitching detail that runs across the top. As we move down a layer, we go to a red leather all through here with, again, a stitching detail. You have real metal buttons that run through here. And I really love the way that they've designed this center console. They have, of course, covered the entire thing in real leather. It runs all through here. And then we have this kind of pillar that sticks out, and this is trimmed in a genuine carbon fiber with your metal and glass buttons on top of that. So overall, this cabin is not just nice for a Genesis, it's not just nice for the class. This seriously is one of the nicest luxury interiors, period. But anyways, let's go ahead and start this bad boy up. as you fire it up, the engine itself doesn't make too much noise, but let's take a look at the gauges. Of course, what we have on this fully loaded model is the best gauge cluster you can get. It's actually reserved for just this Sport Prestige, as a matter of fact. This is Genesis Signature 3D gauge cluster. It is a full digital arrangement, and I apologize for this reflection over here from the window. I'm trying to get a perspective where you don't see it. But yes, these gauges are three-dimensional. You can turn it on and off and turn up the intensity. I'm not sure that I particularly like this too much. It's a little bit weird, but it is a really cool party trick and definitely an upgrade over the standard 8-inch multi-function display, which comes on all the other versions. Furthermore, the Sport Prestige does also include this head-up display, which is pretty nice. It does contain all the information you expect, and it is nice and large as well as bright. Now, pulling back to the steering wheel, we have an absolutely lovely steering wheel. As you can see, you have the leather-wrapped airbag cover, which is a really nice touch. We also have the perforated and thick bolsters here, which have a great feel in the hand. And of course, the entire thing has the nice color contrast stitching. The wheel itself is going to be both power adjusting and also have 2-stage heating. And then of course, we do have rain sensing wipers on board as well. But let's go ahead and take a look at interior storage, because even though this is a very fast vehicle, it is still a crossover and we need some practicality out of that. So underneath of our red center console here, we've got a very nice amount of space. We actually have, when we remove that out of the way, plenty of space. It is quite deep. We do have a felt lining at the bottom, as well as a nice felt along these sides as well, and a 12-volt outlet inside. But nothing is officially good until it holds the coupons, and as you can see, it is going to hold the coupons, which actually some of the rivals that this competes with cannot do that. Now up in front of that, we've got 2 cup holders, and due to the way this is designed, we don't have a tremendous amount of space to stick loose objects, but if you pop that open, you have a surprisingly deep bin right here. This is actually the wireless phone charging pad, so you can just slide your phone all the way down in there and charge it wirelessly. And then of course you have those 2 additional USB ports that you see right there. Now as we come back to the shifter, we come to one of my favorite shifters in the entire auto industry. We have this gorgeous knurled metal and glass shifter here, and it is illuminated at night as well with the ambient lighting, so it's absolutely beautiful, feels great to touch. Of course, you're just going to twist over to D for drive. Being the Sport Prestige, you do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel, and then twist over the opposite direction for reverse. When you do that, you will be greeted with a 360-degree camera system. As you can see, you have both your traditional view with active trajectory as well as your overhead view. But the real party trick is when we bump over here to the left side, click on that button right there, and as you can see, we can now spin completely around the vehicle in a full drone-like view, just like what you can do with some of the German competition. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's very detailed. As you might notice, this is the same color that the car is in, so that's really good attention to detail that most brands miss. And then for park, you're just going to press the P right on the top. Now inside of this same area of metal, you're going to see that above that you have the control knob for the display. You can use it to control the infotainment system. It is also a touch screen, so you have the option. And then in front of that, we do have our audio system controls, also finished in the nice knurled metal. Now in terms of the audio controls, you're going to have a couple different audio systems, but most of the trim levels, including this one, is going to come with the 16-speaker Lexicon Premium audio system, and we'll go ahead and give this a sample right now. Yeah, so overall sound quality of this system is excellent, as you would expect. Definitely really fills up this cabin well. and I do appreciate the amount of bass that this has that really brings a lot of songs to life. And then finally, this last little button up here, this is for your drive mode controls. We also have the button to open up our 360 camera and turn on and off the parking sensors. Let's rise on up here to our climate setup. So you are going to have a dual zone climate setup as standard equipment, but 3-zone climate on this fully loaded Sport Prestige, which is pretty rare for the segment. Of course, operating this is quite simple. You just have these knobs, which are kind of inside of this touch display area here. Very simple to adjust. You do have, like I said, all of this is touch sensitive, so you can adjust the zones right through here. The automatic functions, turn on and off the steering wheel. This is actually very responsive, and it does have haptic feedback. So as far as using it, it's not very distracting, which I was something I was worried about and wanted to test out over this last week. As you can tell, these seats are both 3-stage heated and ventilated. And while we're in this area, I want to point out a couple things. For one, you'll notice the ambient lighting that traces around through here. This is one of many areas inside of this cabin which light up with beautiful and very bright ambient lighting. So this is a very, very cool looking vehicle at night. And I believe we're gonna have a dedicated night review on the channel, hopefully. So that'll be something you guys can check out. Also over here, we do have a fingerprint sensor. So this is one of the few cars that have this. You can actually, if you have the digital key set up, use this to even start the vehicle. But without doing that, you can also use it just to sync your different settings, personal settings. Now, as we move up here to our main display, let's go ahead and talk about this. So just like with the Genesis 80 models, the G80 and the GV80, we do have the very large 14.5-inch display. Now, like I was mentioning, you can use that down there at the bottom, the control knob, but you can also touch it as well, and it is very nice and responsive. As far as the functionality on board, it's running the latest version of the Genesis UI. As you can see, you've got these various tiles you can quickly swipe between. The one thing really worth noting, though, is the fact that this does not have wireless Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. That's a little bit disappointing because most of this car's rivals do include those features. Of course, it does have the wired variety still, but it is not wireless. Now, as we move on up here, we do have a frameless auto-dimming mirror. It's got 3 Homelink universal remotes built into the bottom of it. And then coming up to the top here, we have some nice LED lighting, sunglass holder, and of course, as you would expect, we do have a panoramic sunroof. I'm noticing that this glass is really tinted, so that's nice that it doesn't let in a bunch of UV light on your head. And furthermore, all of the roof is going to be finished in a Alcantara to match with the seats, so this is really nice and high quality. Even the sunshade has the same Alcantara on it.
Well guys, let's hop on back to the rear seats in the GV70, the fully loaded Sport Prestige model. Now I'm going to go ahead and spoil you and say that this is a really nice place to spend time. I mean, it is a lot of space and there's so much luxury back here. So we'll start by breaking down the space. As far as the legroom figures, we're looking at 37.2 inches of rear legroom, which does place it not really even much smaller than the bigger brother GV80, and it is right on par with the German competition. As you can see, my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seat. Unfortunately, we do not have a headroom figure, but just looking at it, there is definitely plenty of space for an average size adult like myself. I'm 5'9", Drew's 5'8", and this is the seat adjustment for that. Now, let's work our way towards the features. This is a luxury vehicle after all, so you're going to have, these standard vents right here in the middle. Now, one thing that is not standard, though, is this right here. We have our own climate controls, and that is going to be included if you go for that top-end Sport Prestige model. So you do have your 3-zone climate, which is something that a lot of the German rivals do include, so I'm happy to see that. Also included in that Sport Prestige is the 3-stage heated rear seats. Dropping further below that, we have 2 charging USB ports as well as a household style outlet. And then coming up from that, we'll fold down our center armrest. We do have cup holders inside, nice leather wrapped. Let's turn our attention towards the door trim though. This is a beautiful door trim, guys. I'm so impressed that Genesis has carried through the materials. We have a completely leather wrapped upper portion. We have leather wrapping down below that in the red stitching. Red armrest, we have some carbon fiber trim, and even in the bottom, you're going to have a nice bottle storage as well as padded plastic. Also worth noting, the Sport Prestige is additionally going to throw in these rear window sunshades, so that's definitely a nice touch. Let's walk our way up to the tailgate area of the GV70. You're noticing we do, of course, have the hands-free power tailgate. Unlike a lot of the rivals, it's not the kick style. You just walk up, and if you stand back here for a few seconds, it will open up. Typical Hyundai, Kia, Genesis fashion. Now, as far as the space itself is concerned for this cargo department, I'm actually pretty impressed with the amount of space. You're looking at 28.9 cubic feet of space behind the second row seats. If you fold those seats down, you're looking at 56.9 cubic feet, which does actually place this as larger than the Mercedes GLC and Audi Q5. So definitely not just a stylish crossover, you also have the utility here in the cargo department. Now let's break down some of the finishings. This is a luxury car, so it's got to be finished nice. We have a premium carpeting along the floor. We have this little metal handle. If we lift that up, you will notice that we do have a spare tire up under there. And then as far as other features worth noting, off to the sides you do have the buttons to fold the seats, so we can fold both of those down. And as you can see, that does give you a flat loading floor. Like I said, once again, I'm pretty impressed with the amount of space back here. You could really fit a lot of stuff, especially with the seats folded down. Now this fully loaded GV70 is going to have a 12-way power adjusting passenger seat, which is really quite a lot of ways. However, it is worth noting to point out that you miss out on the massaging function as well as the power thigh extension from the driver's seat. Now, as far as the glove box here, let's open that up. It is nicely leather wrapped on the outside, which is a premium touch. Here's our coupons. As you can see, our coupon stack isn't massive anymore, but it does fit in there perfectly fine. This glove box is also really nicely felt lined. And then if we work our way up, I really like that the sun visor is in this nice suede material. We do have LED lighting as well as a large mirror, and we can detach it as well as extend it out.
And there was 70 miles per hour with this GV70 Sport Prestige.
It was a little bit of a rolling start since there's someone behind us, but
we'll do
wow.
it flat out in a second. But this thing is really quick. It means business for sure. So of course, when you go for the 3.5 twin turbo, that's taking you up a whole nother level. You're going to have 375 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque. Serious numbers. More than pushes you back in the seat.
Oh yeah, it's so quick. Now of course this does go against the likes of the Audi SQ5, BMW X3 M40i, all those great German rivals. So this has some stiff competition to go up against, but this is certainly a fantastic powertrain for Genesis to be putting in this. Compared to the rivals, this is a little bit slower to 60. 0 to 60 is rated at 5.4, whereas a lot of the Germans are under 5 seconds. But overall, it still feels very, very quick. Now, as far as the other motor, this is the upgraded one. You do have a standard 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, 300 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque. Now, of course, we do know that motor quite well because we do have a Hyundai Sonata inline with that motor, tuned slightly differently, obviously for Genesis duty, to have a little bit more refinement. We've sampled that out in several other Genesis products, like the GV80 we had it as a loaner a few months ago. Certainly a great engine. This is the Mac Daddy though, so if you have the money, it's probably worth the upgrade to get that extra power. It just really solidifies the amazing sport experience that you're going to get here.
Right, and when you get this, choose this engine, you go to the sport model automatically. So you have just the choice of 3 different sport-related trim levels because this is definitely the performance option for the lineup.
Guys, this is so quick. Also, I'm noticing that I think this 3.5 liter twin turbo model sounds better than the 3.3 in the G70.
And we do have it on the middle ground enhancement, so you can choose some different levels of stereo enhancement for your experience. This is the medium setting. I think it sounds quite nice. You know, it's pretty realistic. You don't have in the Genesis lineup, you don't have that like cracks and burbles and stuff like you do in some of the German competition, but it does still have a nice, deep, kind of guttural, powerful sound to it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're kind of heading out onto a country road here, so let's talk a little bit about performance. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and tap us into the sport mode here. So I'll start out by talking about the transmission. We have an 8-speed automatic transmission, and boy is this transmission really excellent. It is very fast responding. It almost seems like a dual clutch in the way that it performs. It is really excellent. You can, you know, take control with the paddles here, which I'm doing right now, and check out these shifts. Bam! I mean, it's like instantaneous. I'm very impressed by the performance of this. And then when you just drive normally, it's also very smooth. So really, really nice job with the transmission. One of the other nice things is when you go for the Sport Prestige model, you are going to get a limited slip torque vectoring system in the rear. So that just gives you that further ability to split the torque between the rear wheels. And boy, does this thing handle like,
oh my gosh,
crazy. I was so shocked getting behind the wheel of this. Just how sporty this is. I mean, you just don't expect this from a crossover, and this thing absolutely can fly down the road. It wasn't that long ago we had the G70, and that, of course, is the sedan version of this. And I'm so glad that that DNA from that vehicle has made it out to this model, because coming down this back road is an absolute joy.
It's incredible, guys. I drove this just a little bit ago, and I really think this feels almost no different than the sedan, which is an incredible feat.
Yeah, button down is not even, like, that's an understatement, button down. I mean, switches directions absolutely immediately. The steering is nice and heavy. It feels so balanced. I really just have nothing but great things to say about this. You know, of course, it goes against some, you know, hard German competition, but it more than keeps up with the best that BMW offers.
But guys, we turned off that country road, and now it's time for us to talk about some of our more traditional elements. This is, of course, still a luxury SUV, so on the day-to-day, you'll probably be using this just for general driving and such. So as far as the fuel economy, we'll talk about that first. So for the 3.5 twin turbo, you are going to come in at 21 miles a gallon combined. The 2.5 turbo is going to be rated at 24 miles per gallon combined. It is worth noting all-wheel drive is standard equipment on every single GV70, so those are your only two fuel economy figures. It's so quick off the line. The all-wheel drive does such a good job of putting the power down.
Yeah, it puts the power down. It is the real deal.
But it's time for me to talk about the regular driving dynamics, just cruising down the highway. That's where we're gotten now. So let's talk about this. The GV70 is definitely a great performance SUV. However, it's also a great luxury SUV as well. So we're just cruising along, going a little over 45 miles per hour, and the GV70 does an excellent job in terms of its everyday livability. The seats are comfortable. It has a really good ride quality. For the 3.5 twin turbo models, that does give you adaptive variable suspension, so that's a nice touch for going for the higher end models. You get that kind of adaptability of keeping it very comfortable, but also giving you those sport elements.
And you can really tell the difference when you switch between the drive modes, just how buttoned down it gets, and, you know, the ride quality, which we're going to go over this bridge here. You're going to see this kind of in action. We're in the comfort mode right now.
Yeah, wow. Does a really good job. Also, this vehicle just sounds very solid. It feels like a German luxury vehicle in terms of its build, and there's no rattles or squeaks.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is that I actually feel that this rides better than the GV80 we had
without
previously.
the
It didn't have the
adaptive.
air suspension, to be fair, but you know, these adaptive dampers are excellent.
Yeah. Let's get our sound level reading going 55. Wow, guys, 54.8 decibels. That is a fantastic reading. I believe that's probably got to be one of the lowest things in the entire segment. That's really, really, really good. We're back on the country road again. I think that's a great time for us to talk about our Slam Dunk and Airball today. Slam Dunk, got to be the driving dynamics. There's a lot of things that we could have said here, and I think the design inside and out is really a great Slam Dunk, but driving dynamics are really so exceptional, especially for this fully loaded Sport Prestige with the 3.5 twin turbo. I mean, it's just phenomenal. A++.
Now, the airball, you have to dig a little deeper to figure out the airball, but there's a little tiny thing that does bother me, though. We don't have wireless Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. I did mention that on the interior, but that's becoming more and more of a thing that stands out as a flaw because most of the competition at this point is starting to integrate that in.
Now, let's go ahead and talk about the pricing for the GV70. This is, of course, going to be another attractive element. Although this is not a cheap vehicle, it is somewhat cheaper than some of the German rivals. So for the base model, we're looking at a starting price of $41,000 for the 2.5 all-wheel drive standard. The cheapest way to get into 3.5 is going to be $52,600. And then this one is a fully loaded out Sport Prestige model. We even have that $1,500 matte gray paint on it. Plus the $1,045 destination charge brings this tester to $65,045.
But guys, to conclude, impressed really would be an understatement with this GV70. We, of course, were very impressed by the GV80, but this really just takes things up another level. On top of just the extreme luxury, the great looks, we're now adding in just phenomenal handling, real deal performance that can keep up with every bit of the best German competition. I mean, this is the whole package from start to finish, and like I said, we are just so impressed by this.
Well, guys, that wraps up our in-depth review of the all-new 2022 Genesis GV70, this time in the fully loaded Sport Prestige trim level, and of course in this beautiful matte paint. If you enjoyed watching this review or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button down below. It will give you access to a ton of automotive content, give you little notifications when we make new videos so you won't want to miss out on that. Also follow us on TikTok and Instagram, where we have other forms of content as well. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.